The millionaire defies the stepfather's brutal attack and takes the girl away in shocking turn. Nathan Morgan stood frozen, drenched by the cold slick of rain that hammered the glass walls of his penthouse. Lightning carved jagged scars across the night sky. Below, the city roared, neon buzzing, horns blaring, lives flashing by like ghosts. But Nathan's world shrank to one sound, a terrified scream, slicing through the storm. Sophie's cry shattered the hum of nightlife, dragging him across the marble floor with a pounding heart. The girl he'd promised to protect, his young stepdaughter, was trapped next door, and the man standing over her wasn't just any threat. Sophie's stepfather, a cruel shadow with cold eyes and clenched fists, loomed like a predator, ready to strike. The air was thick with tension, the kind that presses down on your chest so hard your ribs feel like they might crack. Nathan's hands trembled, and yet every muscle screamed at him to act. He burst through the door. The room reeked of cheap whiskey and menace. Sophie's wide eyes were pools of panic, trembling under his gaze. Her attacker snarled, a beast unleashed. Nathan's fists flew, a flash of desperate fury. The fight was brutal and raw, filled with sharp gasps and the dull thud of bodies hitting the floor. Nathan's breath came heavy, chest heaving, sweat stinging his eyes despite the chill. Suddenly, silence. Then shouts downstairs from neighbors who'd heard the commotion. They had no idea what terror had been born inside this penthouse. Nathan grabbed Sophie's hand, icy, tight, refusing to let go, and started running. The city's lights blurred as rain soaked their clothes and skin. Sirens echoed in the distance, promises of both salvation and more chaos. But Sophie wasn't just scared. She was guarded. Her silence hung between them, a locked door Nathan couldn't open. She glared sideways once, lips pressed thin, eyes hiding something darker. A secret buried so deep it could tear apart everything Nathan had built, his money, his reputation, his fragile new family. As they delved deeper into the night, every shadow seemed to whisper betrayal. Faces in the crowd twisted with hidden agendas. Allies and enemies blurred, and Nathan felt old wounds claw at his insides. The absence of a father, the betrayals he'd survived. Protecting Sophie was more than a choice. It was a fight against his own ghosts. Just when hope flickered, a rare breath of quiet in broken alleyways, a discovery stopped Nathan cold. A scrap of paper, torn and cryptic, dropped from Sophie's coat pocket, soaked and trembling in the rain. His eyes burned through the wet ink, heart sinking with the weight of what those words meant. Who, really, was Sophie running from? And was the danger lurking far darker than either of them could imagine? Nathan swallowed hard. The night wasn't just uncertain. It was a trap waiting to snap shut. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Nathan lifted the damp paper, his fingers trembling. The rain blurred the ink, but the words still cut through him like a blade. Help me find them. Sophie's breath quickened beside him, her eyes darting around as if the very ghosts of the night were closing in. We shouldn't be out here, she whispered, her voice tight with panic. Nathan's heart raced, not sure if it was the fear of the storm or the chilling realization that Sophie was leading them into the unknown. Who was she really scared of? He turned to her, desperation filling his voice. Sophie, who do we need to find? Before she could answer, a figure emerged from the shadows, slipping silently from a doorway nearby. Time seemed to freeze as a tall man stepped into the flickering light, a broken street lamp painting his features with an eerie glow. Nathan's body tensed. He instinctively pulled Sophie closer. The man looked familiar, striking a deep chord in Nathan's memory. And then it hit him like a punch to the gut. Warren? Nathan's voice came out a mix of disbelief and anger. Warren was Sophie's biological father, the very man Nathan thought had been out of the picture entirely. He was supposed to be in prison, locked away for good. "What are you doing here?" Sophie gasped, fingers tightening around Nathan's arm. "No, it can't be." Warren stepped forward, hands raised in a mock gesture of peace. "Nathan, you don't understand. I didn't want it to be this way." His gaze flicked to Sophie, a mixture of regret and something darker brewing beneath. "Don't come any closer," Nathan shouted, adrenaline surging through him. "She's not yours anymore." "Oh, isn't she?" Warren's voice dripped with honeyed menace. "You've been playing house, Nathan, but she's my daughter. You think you can just sweep in and take her from me?" Sophie trembled between them, her face pale as the storm raged around them. Nathan's mind raced. He had thought he was saving her, protecting her from the grasp of a monster. But the unfolding scene felt like a twisted nightmare. What if he had it all wrong? Warren's eyes glinted with something that sent a chill down Nathan's spine. "There are things you don't know, Nathan. Secrets that bind us all. You think you're her savior? You're nothing but a pawn in a much larger game." "What game?" Nathan's voice was low, simmering with rage and fear. Then, Warren took a step back, pulling something from his coat, a flash of metal that gleamed in the dim lights. "The night has its own plans for you." A deafening bang split the night, a sound so raw and vicious it made Nathan flinch. The explosion of sound was followed by the shattering of glass from the building behind them. Nathan spun around, heart hammering in his chest. The world was spinning, colors swirling together into chaos. When he turned back, Warren was gone, leaving only echoes of his laughter trailing off into the shadows. Sophie's eyes were wide, flooded with tears. "Nathan, I didn't want you to know. I didn't want him to find us." The paper slipped from Nathan's fingers, lost in the downpour. The rain seemed to wash away everything he thought he knew about their lives. What deeper secrets lay underneath? What twisted paths had they been drawn into? With the storm thundering on, Nathan felt the ground shift beneath him. Nothing was as it seemed. Was he even protecting Sophie, or had he just stumbled into another trap? As uncertainty wrapped around them like a fog, one question echoed in his mind. Who was really in danger? Nathan blinked, trying to process the chaos swirling around him. "Sophie, who is he?" His voice was barely audible over the rain pounding down, but the fear in his eyes was loud enough. Sophie shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks, the very picture of a trapped animal. "I don't know." Her voice quivered, panic rising like the storm overhead. "He shouldn't be here. We needs to." Then a ball of energy erupted from the shadows. A figure, sleek and quick, burst onto the scene, crashing into Nathan, sending him sprawling onto the slick pavement. The wind knocked from his lungs, and as he gasped, he barely saw the glint of a knife flash before his eyes. "Get down!" shouted a voice that felt all too familiar. It was Detective Harris, a friend from Nathan's past, the same man who had handed him the keys to this chaotic life of his. As the detective tackled him sideways, they hit the ground, just as a blade slashed the air above them. "What the hell, Harris?" Nathan rasped, still struggling to catch his breath, heart racing. "What's happening?" But Harris didn't respond. Instead, he leaped to his feet, positioning himself between Nathan and Sophie, scanning the dark alley. "We have to move. There's a lot more at play than you know." "What do you mean?" Nathan shot back, bewildered. He could barely make sense of what was his mind reeling. "Why are you even here?" Before Harris could answer, a loud boom rocked the alley, echoing off the walls. Another explosion sent debris flying, shards of glass and metal raining down like deadly confetti. The ground shook beneath them, sending them sprawling again. Nathan shielded Sophie, moments blurred in a haze of panic and pounding rain. "Move! Move!" Harris barked, forcing them to their feet. Shadows danced around them, and the taste of fear filled Nathan's mouth. "They're coming!" Then Sophie wheeled around, a fierce glint in her eyes that Nathan hadn't seen before. "Nathan, there's something you need to know." Her voice was steady, shocking him into silence. "Warren's not just any threat. He's connected." I didn't want to believe it, but the sudden screech of tires sliced through the air. A black SUV skidded to a stop at the alley's entrance, doors flinging open as men in dark suits poured out, faces obscured by shadows. "Get down," Harris yelled as he motioned them to duck behind a dumpster. With hearts pounding, they huddled together, adrenaline pumping through Nathan's veins. "Sophie, please," he urged, his hand gripping her shoulder tight. "What do you mean he's connected?" Sophie clenched her jaw, eyes darting around as the men closed in. "Those men, they've been watching us. I found their photos buried in Dad's things. I didn't want you to know. There's money involved, a lot of it. And she paused, gulping. "They want me." Then a voice rang out, deep and chilling. "Sophie, we know you're here. Just come with us." The men looked ready for violence, and Nathan felt his blood run cold. He turned to Harris, seeing panic reflected back at him. "What do we do?" But before Harris could answer, another explosion erupted nearby, rattling Nathan's bones. Suddenly, blinding lights flooded the alley, illuminating the scene like a stage. Armed officers surged forward, sirens wailing, chaos crashing in from every angle. And in that moment, everything boiled to the surface. A figure emerged from within the light, a woman, dressed in a crisp jacket, shielding her eyes from the glare. Nathan squinted, disbelief coursing through him as she stepped closer. The world around him fell silent. It was Claire, his first wife, long thought lost. "Nathan, you don't understand," she shouted, desperation clawing her voice. "You have to trust me, it's not what you think." His mind spiraled. "Claire? Here? What did she mean?" Sophie gasped, stepping back in shock. "No, it can't be." Nathan's heart raced, confusion tumbling through him. This was not just a simple fight for survival anymore. It felt like a web of lies stretching out, every thread pulling them deeper into an abyss. What secrets had been hidden from him? He took a shaky breath, the storm still crashing all around them. Could he trust Claire? Could he trust anyone anymore? The ground beneath him felt shaky, the night air heavy with unspoken truths. Questions hung in the air, thick as fog, and the storm was far from over. "Claire, you shouldn't be here," Nathan shouted, his mind racing. The rain whipped around them, and the sounds of chaos loomed close, but Claire's piercing gaze held him still. "I didn't have a choice, Nathan." Claire's voice broke with urgency. "You have to listen. Warren is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more going on than you think." Sophie pressed against Nathan, fear etched across her face. "Mom, how? How are you here?" But before Claire could respond, the dark-suited men lunged forward, breaking through the police line. The alley exploded with shouts, and adrenaline surged through Nathan's veins. He pulled Sophie deeper behind the dumpster as glass shattered and debris flew. "Get down," Harris barked, positioning himself like a human shield. "We need to get out of here." The echo of a gunshot rang out not far from them. Nathan's heart jerked in his chest. It felt like a nightmare spinning out of control. Each thought collided, and he could barely breathe through the weight of it all. Then Claire took a step forward, the lights from the police vehicles bathing her in stark white. The look in her eyes was a potion of resolve and desperation. "There's something you both need to know about Sophie." Nathan's heart dropped. "What do you mean?" He shifted, trying to keep the chaos behind him at bay. But the tension felt like a vice around his chest. Oh God, this is so hard to explain. Sophie isn't just a victim here, she's involved." Claire's words came out in a rush, jagged like shards of broken glass. Nathan felt a cold chill grip his heart. "What do you mean, involved?" Nathan's voice was strained, disbelief crashing over him. A smirk twisted onto Warren's face as he emerged from the shadows, dusted off from the aftermath of the explosion. "You really thought this was just about me?" His laughter shattered the air. You should have done your homework. Nathan, and then, unbelievably, Warren pointed a finger at Sophie. She's part of the operation. Stunned silence came flooding in, the world around them pausing. Nathan felt the ground drop from beneath him. What operation? Each word felt heavy, leaden with confusion and fear. A sharp crack erupted again, this time followed by a scream. It was one of the suited men, clutching his leg, collapsing onto the wet pavement, chaos erupting around them. And in that moment, Claire's expression shifted. No, Claire's voice trembled. Sophie, run! But Nathan grabbed Sophie, pulling her close again, feeling her small frame shaking against him. What's he talking about, Sophie? Please, tell me the truth. I didn't want to, Sophie cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. But it's all true. I thought I could escape it, but he found me. Escape what? Nathan demanded, terror bubbling in his throat. The crowd outside began to scream, panic consuming the alley like a wildfire. The officers were rushing in, guns drawn, shouting commands. And then, just as everything spiraled out of control, an unexpected roar thundered overhead. A helicopter sliced through the stormy clouds, its searchlight cutting through the chaos, illuminating everything in blinding light. Sophie, Claire shouted, her voice rising above the tumult. You are in the middle of something big. An explosion rang again, this time deeper. The very foundation trembled, and Nathan felt the ground buckle underfoot. What is happening? He shouted, eyes wide, as he looked between Claire and Sophie. Trust me, it's bigger than all of us, Claire yelled. Before he could process the weight of her words, something caught fire. The heat crackled in the air, and the flickering blue and red lights of the police flickered in the distance. Panic seized Nathan. As Claire reached out for Sophie, a shadow passed behind her, and before Nathan could react, Warren lunged forward, grabbing Sophie and dragging her towards the chaos of the street. No! Nathan's voice erupted, racing after them. The scene exploded with confusion. Sirens wailed, smoke billowed. In that moment, all he could see was Sophie reaching out for him, terror in her eyes. Then, in a shocking twist, Claire stepped in front of him. Nathan, don't follow. You have no idea what lurks behind this facade. Everything fell to pieces, and he stumbled back, bewildered. What do you mean? But with a swift move, Claire pulled a gun from her coat. The world around Nathan shattered into fragments. It's too late for you to get involved. Protecting her, it will get you killed. The air thickened with silence as the storm raged above. Nathan stood frozen, mouth agape. Who was Claire, really? And what had he gotten himself into? As Sophie's figure slipped into the darkness, another question echoed in his mind. Could he trust anyone anymore? Nathan stood frozen, the chaos around him swirling. Claire's revelation crashed over him like another wave of the storm. Sophie was involved? How could that be? He could see the fear in Sophie's eyes and the desperation on Claire's face. This was becoming a nightmare, one he couldn't quite grasp. And you knew? He shouted, his voice battling against the noise. You let me believe she was just a victim. I didn't want to. I thought she was safe. Claire's voice broke, desperation clawing at her throat. But it's deeper than we realized. Before Nathan could demand an explanation, Sophie jerked free from his grip, eyes wild as she looked at her mom. You lied to me. I thought you were gone. Then a blinding flash erupted overhead. The helicopter's searchlight swept through the alley, catching everything in its beam. The darkness seemed to retreat for a moment, exposing the truth of the chaos around them. Nathan's heart raced. He had to protect her. But then a sound cut through the air, a piercing scream. Watch out, Harris yelled. But it was too late. The dark-suited men had surged forward, weapons drawn. Nathan pushed Sophie back, shielding her, heart pounding in his throat. Just then, the ground beneath their feet trembled, and a sudden roar echoed through the air. Nathan's eyes darted towards the source of the sound. An explosion erupted from the far end of the alley, flames licking towards the sky, shadowing everyone in its fiery glow. A figure burst from the smoke, cloaked in dark fabric, weaving through the chaos. Nathan squinted, heartbeat drumming loud in his ears, and then he froze, stunned as recognition hit him. It was Warren. He wasn't just a threat anymore. He was charging toward them, a manic grin splitting his face, something gleaming in his hand. "Sophie," he shouted, "come to me, we have to end this." "Run," Nathan yelled. But instead of fleeing, Sophie stood there, confusion clouding her features. "No, stop, don't listen to him," Claire screamed. But then in that moment, something shifted. Sophie's face contorted, as if processing something profound. "No, I can't." With a horrifying flash, the gleaming object in Warren's hand revealed itself, a detonator. "Warren," Claire shouted, voice trembling, "don't you dare." But he pressed the button. Nothing happened. Silence engulfed them momentarily. Then, an unfamiliar voice echoed through the chaos, laced with gravel, shattering the night. "You think you can escape, Warren?" All eyes shot to the source. A woman emerged from the smoke, tall and fierce, rooted in undeniable power. Her presence commanded the alley, and in her eyes glinted something dark, something that made Nathan's stomach drop. "Who are you?" Nathan whispered, a lump rising in his throat. The woman smirked. "Let's just say I'm someone who's been watching all of you." "And Sophie?" "She holds the key to everything." The words fell heavy. Sophie spun around, panic blooming. "What do you mean?" "Let's not play coy," the woman continued, stepping closer. "You really don't know who you are, do you?" The question sliced through the air, making it feel electric. A web of confusion unspooled before Nathan's eyes. Could Sophie really be more than he thought? Was any of this real? And just like that, everything sparked. The woman pointed, her smile chilling. "You've been living a lie. Haven't you, Sophie? Your mother was a pawn, and now we're all on a stage you didn't even know you were part of." Nathan's blood ran cold. What does that mean? But the woman had already turned, her silhouette flickering against the flames. "Time's running out, the truth is waiting, and it's time for all of you to find out who you truly are." As she faded back into the shadows, everything Nathan thought he knew twisted into something terrifying. Was Sophie running from her life? Or was it something much, much worse? Fear gripped him. The closer he looked, the more questions bubbled up. Would she even want him once the truth emerged? In the thick of the storm, Nathan felt a new terror take hold. Who was he really protecting? And what shadows lay ahead in the night? Nathan's breath caught in his throat as the woman's words hung in the air like smoke. Sophie stood frozen beside him, terror painting her face. "What do you mean?" "I hold the key," she whispered, voice trembling. The alley crackled with tension, the flickering lights of the police vehicles reinforcing the increasing chaos. Nathan shifted, instinctively pulling Sophie closer. He needed her safe. But what was the truth, and how deep did it go? "Remember what I said, Sophie," the woman continued, shadows dancing across her face. "It's time to embrace who you really are." Before Sophie could respond, something hard and metallic clattered against the pavement behind them. Nathan spun around in alarm. The dark-suited men were regrouping, their eyes seething, and the glint of weapons glimmered ominously under the flickering street lamps. Just then, Harris shouted, "We can't stay here, we've got to move." That's when the unexpected hit. A loud sound, like thunder, echoed, more explosion than gunshot. It wasn't far away, but close enough to rattle them. Nathan's heart raced, and he turned just in time to see the nearby building blow apart, bricks and debris flying through the air like deadly confetti. "Get down," he roared, instinctively pushing Sophie to the ground. The world around them erupted. In a swirl of debris and screaming police, Nathan caught a glimpse, something shifting at the edge of the chaos. A shadow darted forward, and suddenly everything went still, as a sudden form bolted past him, too fast to see clearly. Nathan squinted against the dust and smoke, pressing his back against the dumpster. "What was that?" he shouted, catching Harris's eye. Before anyone could answer, the woman's voice cut through the cacophony. "They're after her. Sophie. You can't let them take you. But there was no time for questions. The explosion had sent a wave of confusion, scattering people and creating an opening. From the murk, Sophie's face blanched further, overwhelmed. "Claire, what do I do?" Sophie cried, eyes darting around. Claire's voice faltered, and panic hit Nathan like a wave. Then came a command, deep and melodic, slicing through the chaotic winds. "Stand down." Nathan turned, eyes widening as a figure stepped from the shadows, dressed in a crisp military uniform, flanked by more armed soldiers. The leader's presence demanded respect and authority. "We have come for the girl." "The girl?" Nathan faltered, his heart pounding faster. "What do you mean? You can't take her. Stand aside," the soldier commanded, gaze unflinching. "She is a protected asset." "Protected? From what? Who are you?" Nathan shouted, desperately unsure of where to turn. "Enough," the officer snapped, voice booming. "You have no idea what's at stake." Suddenly, Claire's expression twisted with anguish. "Wait, you can't do this. She's my daughter." The entire world seemed to tilt. Nathan staggered back, disbelieving. "Daughter? What?" The words echoed like a haunting mantra. Sophie jerked, looking between Claire and the soldier. "What? Mom, is that true? How could you?" "No!" Claire rushed forward, pain written all over her face. I didn't want you involved. I did it to protect you." "Protect?" Irony sliced through Nathan as fury bubbled. "Protect her? By lying to her?" But before arguments could escalate, the unexpected shadow reappeared, darting through the chaos. A flash of movement, and a figure hurtled toward Sophie. "Get down!" Nathan screamed as he lunged toward her. But then, like a devastating twist in a sickening game, the figure collided with Sophie. Time seemed to freeze. It was Warren. "No!" Nathan roared, but everything felt slower, surreal. With a sudden, powerful motion, Warren snatched Sophie, pulling her toward the soldiers. "Stop!" Claire shouted, lunging forward again. "This isn't how it's supposed to be." Sophie's eyes widened, caught between the worlds of danger and unexpected truth. "Mom, what's happening?" And just when it seemed the chaos couldn't spiral further, the soldier pulled off his cap. "I'm sorry, Claire. We have to end this. You know this." Heart pounding, Nathan felt betrayal slice through him. The tension cracked like thunder, clouds blanketing everything in darkness. "And what? What are you all talking about?" Sophie's voice shook as she squared her shoulders. "I don't know what's going on." Then, in a shocking revelation, Warren smirked, a glint of triumph in his eye. "You're not just anyone, Sophie. You're part of the heirs, lineage, something far more valuable than you know." And in that moment, everything snapped into focus. The web of deception tightened, and Nathan stood paralyzed, as the truth hung heavy in the air. Was Sophie really an heir? What did this all mean for their future? And was there any way of saving her now? As the sirens blared and chaos swirled around them, the ground shook beneath their feet, and Nathan's world shattered into pieces. The truth loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, and he wondered if he could reach Sophie before the shadows swallowed them both whole. Nathan felt the ground drop beneath him as Warren's words hung in the air like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. Part of the heir's lineage. He barely had time to process the twisted revelation before the chaos exploded once more. Sophie shrank against him, confusion and fear mingling in her wide eyes. "What does that mean?" Her voice trembled, tinged with desperation. Claire's face was a mask of anguish, tearing at Nathan's heart. "No, it's not true," Claire whispered, more to herself than to them. "I never wanted you to get pulled into this." The dark-suited men advanced. But just then a deafening crack echoed from above. Nathan's gaze snapped upward as the helicopter circled ominously overhead, the searchlight cutting through the night like a knife. Without a warning, an explosion erupted from just beyond the entrance of the alley. The bright flash blinded them, disorienting everyone for a heartbeat. Nathan instinctively shielded Sophie with his body, heart pounding like a war drum. As smoke billowed toward them, cloaking the alley in a dense fog, He could barely hear Claire shouting through the chaos. "Run! We can't let them have you." But the chaos stole her words, swallowing them into darkness. Suddenly there was a deafening roar on the other side of the smoke. Nathan squinted through the haze. And then, boom! A shadow rushed past him, fast as lightning. Sophie with a feral strength. The realization hit Nathan like a punch to the gut. The figure was someone he recognized. It was Mia, Sophie's long-lost cousin, the one they had all believed was gone forever. "Mia," Nathan shouted, still reeling from the shock. "What are you doing here?" But Mia didn't respond. She pulled Sophie toward a space in the chaos, eyes darting between Nathan and the approaching figures with a wild urgency. "Just come with me. You have to trust me," Mia urged, her grip tight around Sophie's wrist, eyes gleaming with an unsettling mix of panic and determination. "No," Nathan roared, stepping forward. "Stop. You don't know what's going on." But the moment hung heavy. In the air, electric with danger. Mia's eyes ignited with something undeniable. "Nathan, you have to understand. They're coming for all of us. Because of her. We don't have time." Rage and confusion mixed in Nathan's veins. Then, the chaos intensified again. The dark-suited men surged toward them, weapons drawn. "Get back," one yelled, and shot fired into the sky, sending shards of adrenaline racing through Nathan. He couldn't let them take Sophie. Any of them. "Mia, what do you know?" Nathan shouted, grabbing Sophie's other hand, trying to pull her back. "Everything," Mia shouted back, voice breaking. "They're all lying to you, about who you really are, about who we all are." The world around them spun even faster. Claire's face turned ghostly, realization crashing over her. "What are you talking about?" she gasped. But before Mia could answer, a blast echoed from the mouth of the alley. The black SUV from earlier screeched to a halt, doors flinging open. More men, in dark suits, poured out, their faces obscured by shadows. "Get her!" one barked, and everything exploded once more. "Mia," Nathan called, desperate to understand, a cold dread enveloping him. Just as chaos erupted, Mia reached for Sophie, eyes blazing with fierce intensity. But then everything changed. Mia turned, and in a split second, she threw herself in front of Sophie, her own body taking the brunt of a shock that sent shockwaves through the air. Nathan watched in horror as a bullet struck Mia, sending her sprawling, the world tilting on its axis. "No!" Sophie screamed, tearing at Nathan's grip. Time slowed down as Nathan gaped, disbelief flooding him. Who was Mia really? Why was she here? And what had she just sacrificed? As chaos engulfed them, one burning question thrashed in Nathan's mind. What other truths lay hidden in the shadows? And could he save Sophie before it was too late? Nathan froze, watching Mia crumple to the ground, blood blooming around her like a dark flower. Fear roared through him, drowning out everything else. "Mia, no!" He lunged forward, but Sophie tugged on his arm, panic flashing in her eyes. "Don't! They'll shoot you!" she gasped, her voice shaking as the chaos spun around them. Warren sneered, stepping closer, reveling in the horror. "This is all your fault, Nathan. You couldn't just stay out of it, could you? Look what your meddling has done." "No!" Claire shouted, charging toward the fallen Mia. "This isn't how it's supposed to end. You can't just take her." But Warren was relentless, pushing forward, eyes glinting with malice. The air crackled with tension, the scent of smoke and fear thickening. The suited men were closing in, their intentions dark. Nathan's heart raced as he felt the weight of that moment pressing down on him. "Mia," he shouted one last time, but her eyes fluttered closed, and a terrifying silence settled around them. Sophie's breath caught, and Nathan could see the disbelief and despair etched across her face. "Get her," one of the dark-suited men commanded. They lunged toward Sophie and Nathan, but before they could make a move, a loud crack of thunder rang out above them, drowning everything in a deafening roar. The helicopter's spotlight swung wildly, illuminating the scene. In the flickering light, something moved in the shadows again. A figure emerged, tall, confident, holding a briefcase that glinted under the helicopter's beam. Nathan squinted, his heart racing. "Who was it?" "Stop right there," shouted the soldier leading the group. "You're outnumbered. Drop the case." The figure smiled, almost mockingly. "You think you know everything? You have no idea what you're up against." It was a woman, her features sharp, confident. She pressed a button on her briefcase, and suddenly, it hissed open. A blinding light burst from inside, illuminating the alley like a beacon. It made everyone stumble back, shielding their eyes. "In this case, I hold the cards," she declared, and in that moment, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. "What do you mean?" Nathan gasped, his eyes wide as he took her in. The woman's gaze flickered between them, as if judging their worth. "You all think this is just about Sophie. You're in deeper waters than you know." With a flick of her wrist, she revealed items from inside the case, photos, documents stacked high, evidence of betrayals that made Nathan's gut twist. He leaned closer, his heart pounding. This is connected to everything," he gasped, catching glimpses of names he recognized, names that twisted like knives in his chest. "Look closer," she urged, eyes glimmering with something dark. "The truth is far more complicated." Then with a sudden, violent twist, the nearest explosion rattled the ground. As dust and debris flew, the woman stared, unbroken, and whispered, "What if I told you that Sophie isn't just involved? What if she's the key to ending this all?" Nathan's heart dropped, and the world around him blurred. A surge of adrenaline coursed through him. "What do you mean?" "She's more important than you'll ever know. You've been living with the lie for too long," the woman continued, her voice steady despite the encroaching chaos. "Warren isn't just a petty criminal. He's part of a bigger scheme that takes root in your family's history." Everything twisted. Reality warped as secrets crumbled around him. Suddenly, Sophie stepped forward, eyes ablaze. "What is this about my family?" But before anyone could answer, the helicopter whirred, its spotlight illuminating the alley again, revealing shadows lurking just beyond. The suited men stood motionless, eyes widened in realization. "Time's running out," the woman said, her voice intense. "You have to decide now, or everyone is lost." "Lost?" Nathan's chest tightened, and horror washed over him. "What do we do?" Then the ground shifted beneath them, the weight of unseen choices hovering heavy in the air. Secrets loomed, wrapping around him like a noose. Could she truly be the key to whatever deeper deception lay coiled in the darkness? As the helicopter's thrum faded into the rising storm, Nathan swallowed hard. The night was far from over, and the truth hung above them like a guillotine. Would they be able to escape before it fell? Nathan felt a tight knot coil in his stomach as the smoke from Mia's fall curled into the air, intertwining with the chaos around them. The helicopter's spotlight swung wildly, illuminating panic and fear. Sophie's eyes were wide, a mix of horror and disbelief. "Is she okay?" But no one had time to respond. The suited men began to close in, their faces cold and determined. "Step away from her," one shouted, raising his weapon as they surrounded them. Nathan pressed Sophie tightly against him, heart pounding. "We need to move." Just then, the sounds of sirens grew louder, drowning out everything. Police cars screeched to a halt at the alley entrance. Swarms of officers poured out, guns drawn, confusion sparking in their eyes. Nathan turned, breathless. "They're going to help us." But Claire shook her head, desperation etched into every line of her face. "No, they're involved." They came for Sophie. Before Nathan could digest the sudden shift, a bang echoed from the side street. A flash, an explosion, a figure bursting into the chaos. The crowd screamed as a familiar face emerged from the smoke. Detective Harris. "This way, now." Harris moved fast, like a panther, fearlessly weaving through danger. He skidded to a halt in front of them. "You have to trust me." "Why should we?" Nathan spat, every nerve on fire. "Everyone's playing games with us. Because you need to know the truth. Sophie, she's in more danger than you realize." Her name hung in the air, heavy and full of terror. But before anyone could respond, the unknown woman with the briefcase stepped between them and the approaching dark-suited men. "Stop! You can't take her." She swung the briefcase open wider. The light exploded, better than any flare, dispersing the shadows like smoke. "I have evidence. The truth will set her free." Warren stepped back, eyes reflecting the frantic energy in the alley. "You don't know what you—" "Enough," the woman shouted, voice fierce, sharp like glass. "This has gone too far." And in that instant, she tossed papers from the briefcase into the wind. Photographs fluttered around them like lost butterflies. Nathan's heart dropped as he recognized face after face captured in those snapshots. People he knew, associates, connections, betrayals buried deep in shadows. "Bizarre," he murmured, confusion clawing at his mind. As the papers swirled, a commotion from the shadows caught Nathan's attention. A new figure appeared, stepping into the light. A man with an air of authority, face set in a grim determination. Nathan's heart raced again, not just from fear, but from recognition. "Jack," he breathed. Jack, his old partner. But why was he here? How had everything crumbled to this moment? "Get Sophie away from them," Jack shouted, eyes blazing. But it wasn't just anger there. There was something more. Before Nathan could react, Jack was suddenly pulled back by one of the suited men, a cruel smile twisting his lips. "You should have stayed away, Jack." "What the hell?" Nathan growled, ready to lunge. But suddenly, in a staggeringly unexpected twist, Jack turned, brandishing a blade as sharp as his smile. "I'm sorry, Nathan. It's time you learned the truth," he said, cold as ice. The realization hit hard. Betrayal hung thick in the air. "Sophie, run!" Nathan shouted, heart racing as the nightmares collided. But she stood frozen, eyes darting between them, confusion swirling. "What do you mean? Who are you really?" "No time," Jack urged, an urgency creeping into his tone. "She's not just an heir. She's the reason this is all happening." Moms gasped, and panic surged through every fiber of Nathan's being. What did he mean? Was this why everyone was after her? Deceptions piled upon deceptions. And the ground felt like it was slipping away. The chaos sharpened around them, and swords clashed louder than the sirens. Would they all survive this night? As the air thickened with uncertainty, Nathan's thoughts raced. Who could he trust now? And what deeper secrets lay in the shadows waiting to be unearthed? The alley buzzed with tension and adrenaline. All he could do was push forward. Nathan's heart raced as he stared at Jack, betrayal coursing through him like ice. "You're working with them? After everything we've been through?" Jack smirked, the blade glinting in the helicopter's searchlight. "You have no idea how deep this goes, Nathan. You think I'd risk my life without a reason?" Shifted closer, circling like a shark, hunger glinting in his eyes. "Get Sophie. We don't have time for theatrics." Before Nathan could respond, Sophie broke free from his grip, eyes blazing with determination. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she shouted, holding her ground, voice strong despite the terror that clouded her features. Sophie's defiance sparked something in Nathan. "You fight for your own truth, Sophie. Don't let them take that away from you." Muffled shouts echoed as officers moved in, guns raised. The alley erupted again, voices mingling with chaos. "Get down!" one shouted, but Nathan could only focus on Sophie. The tension exploded like firecrackers. Jack lunged forward, knife aimed, but Claire stepped in front of her daughter, fear and love carving lines across her face. "Stop it, you can't take her." Suddenly Mia stirred. "Don't let it happen," she whispered weakly, groaning in pain, but her eyes burned with urgency. "This isn't over. You have to choose." Then a surge of energy propelled Nathan. "We need to act. Sophie, listen to me." His voice cracked, but it was steady enough to cut through the fear. "We'll break free of this together." One glance exchanged between them, a flicker of understanding igniting before the darkness closed in. The helicopter's spotlight danced wildly as chaos erupted. Jack swept toward Sophie again, but Nathan lunged, grabbing his wrist, the metal feeling far too heavy in his grasp. You won't touch her. Tackle him, Claire cried, and as if the world shifted in unison, they surged forward, a united front against the gathering storm of betrayal and violence. Nathan could feel the warmth of Sophie's spirit at his side, and he wouldn't let anything extinguish it. As Warren shouted commands, dark figures lunged forward, the alley transformed into a battleground, the noise crashing over them like a tidal wave. Shots rang out, echoes of courage and desperation filling the air. "This way," Harris yelled, breaking through the chaos, his eyes fierce with resolve. "We need to reach the exit." In moments that felt like a lifetime, Nathan and Sophie broke free, dodging shadows and debris, racing toward the alley's mouth. The sounds behind them blurred, confusion swirling like a storm. As they raced into the open, a thought struck Nathan, mingling fear and resolve in his chest. "We'll find out the truth, together." Then, the world exploded behind them, and Nathan shielded Sophie, panic frozen in time for an instant, the sharp scent of smoke mixing with the rain. But as the dust cleared, light grew, and in the chaos, a police officer grabbed Jack. "Enough games." The officer barked, disarming him, panic flooding the scene as the other officers tackled the incoming dark-suited men. Nathan blinked, relief washing over him, even as the chaos continued. Mia lay on the ground, eyes closing, the life fading in mere moments. "Nathan," Sophie screamed, but Nathan couldn't let despair take root. They turned as Claire rushed to Mia, tears spilling. "Please, help, we need a medic." Nathan seized Sophie's hand tighter. "We can't stop. We have to get out of here, now." Finally, they broke free, the rain pouring down upon them like a cleansing wave, washing the chaos away. As they sprinted into the moonlight, breaths hitching, Nathan felt the world shift again. They'd survived. They had the chance to uncover the truth. As they reached safety from the chaos, Sophie's face glimmered with unyielding strength. "Nathan, what if the truth is worse?" His heart swelled. "Whatever it is, we face it together. We won't let them win." In that moment, clinging to hope amid the debris of betrayal, Nathan knew they'd build something new, together. As they stepped into the light, ready to embrace the uncertain future, a call to action echoed through the silence. You have to subscribe right now to the channel to stay updated on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this intense ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this unfolds. Don't wait even one more second to share this. Real fans know how important it is to support the